of the most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Hello and welcome to the Racehour review show, sponsored by Gambling.com and our friends at Betfred. Now, we have had a fantastic weekend. We've had the John Durkan, the Betfred chase, and we had the Morgiana, a weekend where children will remember this weekend getting into race, and maybe the best race ran in Ireland this century. I think it might be fair to say. And Dermo, fabulous weekend. We'll start with you, but more importantly, did you make any money punting?
I did not make any money punting. No, I had a few small bets only. But the biggest bet I had of the weekend was Ballycoos on Saturday and 2 out. God, I thought I was home and hosed. Now I know Danny Mullins made his move up, but no, absolutely nothing. But on Sunday, Cass, Leeds United did go top of the league, so it wasn't a complete loss of a weekend. Thank God.
Oh God! Oh, the Leeds content. I don't know. You must lose more followers now next over that. And so three. Some week a miracle will happen when it comes to Dermo, and he would have made money punting, but that hasn't happened yet this year. Tony Keenan, how about you? How was your luck?
Yeah, going all right, Stephen. I backed Gordon Elliott's horse that won the Craddock Style. We'll talk about him, and I've been on this kind of train with this Hickey horse that won the Novice Handicap, Sonny May. Followed back them again on Sunday there as well. Got the big race totally arseways now. It's sucked into Journey for me. I'm not a Journey with me. I'm not getting sucked into this again. Mullins saying the horses are going to need a run is different to everyone else. They're always bloody ready for this race anyway. It's just a lucky. I know we're not going into the John Durkan, but he's one of the 8 out of the last 10 years. And every one of them is coming off 200 days or more of a break. So yeah, look at what he does rather than what he says. And also, I'm going to try to smile this week because I think I had a comment there last week that I was like some sort of prison camp in Terni. I'm not looking that miserable, so I'll try and smile there.
I think you were commenting, Tony, that you were smiling. Yeah,
okay.
Smiles for Tony. Good to see you. Three good fellows here now. Dermo, we'll go to you, Adam. So we'll start with our kind of review horses that we want to review. Then we'll go through the big races. So, Dermo, we're coming to you first, and you want to talk about Lucky Place and Aston.
Yeah, just strange handicapping now afterwards. This horse won the Ascot Hurdle. Won it quite comfortably, getting £6 from Blue Kindaroo, who was rated £10 higher than him. He was running off level weights with the third there, Colonel Mustard. And after the race, he's only been bumped up to 145. I think that's extremely interesting now, kind of going forward. He was fourth there in the Coral Cup. Back in fifth was Franciscan Rock, who also won at the weekend. So that Coral Cup is starting to look decent. Our old friend Shanbally Kid, Cass now looks very well in, if he ever runs again. And the, it is very good. But the handicapping over in the UK, it's just something that I'm kind of tracking here. Because I thought, first of all, what's Nicky Henderson running in that race for? But Nicky Henderson now is after winning 56 grand for that hurdle. And he's only gone up £5. That horse can definitely win a handicap of 145. How will he won that? So, Lucky Place there is very interesting. Butch Cassidy as well. He won the second at Punchestown on Saturday. Now, I really like this maiden hurdle. I think there's an awful lot of really good horses there. Him and Sir Manzarac, he won the Goffs bumper at the Punchestown Festival last year. These two really went at each other from 2 out, and Sir Manzarac looked the winner now. Like he comfortably looked at this lad out battled him. Back in third was for Ted Walsh and Mark Walsh. We'll shuffle the deck. This now to me looks a proper maiden hurdle. Butch Cassidy does as well. That was bringing up a double for Henry de Bromhead and Darragh O'Keefe, who were just absolutely flying all around them. Then kind of last but not least, Cass, Ballyburn. Now, I thought he was good because he's a brilliant racehorse, but to me now I'm very interested to hear kind of what Tony thinks about this. And you as well. I think he's imperious. I think he probably beats everyone all around him at any trip anyway. But to me now, he jumped like how I love my Staying Chasers to kind of jump. Didn't jump around like an Arkle horse to me, but again, look, he's probably good enough. Just like William Mullins' horses, he'd probably just fly after them anyway. It won't really matter. But yeah, wasn't blown away by him now at all.
I'll just touch on one thing before I give my thoughts on Ballyburn there. You mentioned handicapping as UK horses, and we talked about Chianti Classico blowing his mark and going up for small prizes. And Tim Bailey fairly does it again now with Trelawn. He won 29 grand or 20 grand or something for beating Iroko on Saturday. Went up £8. I mean, they sent this horse off 72 favourites for an ultima of 144. and he doesn't go and win a big handicap. Like, well, it's just English trainers, and Skelton can do it, but there's a lot of them, the old school fellas. Tim Bailey, get a hold of yourself. You after leaving behind the Hennessy or some huge race there with Trelawn, an absolute yoke of a horse, like, and I'd say he might never win again now that he's at 152. He'd probably say he's a big national type and all this nonsense, like who's stuff from the 70s and 80s. And I just think, some English trainers. I've touched on this with Tim Bailey before, but that would infuriate me now if that was my horse, that's all he won. Right, Ballyburn, I agree with you. I thought his jumping was kind of on the safer side, but he did everything right. Like he was over and away and running off the back of him very quickly. I actually loved his jumping, but I loved it as in the context kind of a Gold Cup horse. Yeah. Very safe, very efficient, wasn't exuberant, wasn't out the wings. But like they might gun him the next day over 2 miles of Nace and see. Maybe he will make a 2 mile.
He probably hasn't schooled at home either, Cass. As in, like all they do is gallop down on Willies anyway. So like, he could just improve as the season goes on anyway, couldn't he?
It used to be a thing, certainly, when I used to get wind of what was happening in Willies. Certainly, they'd barely schooled them at all. But you do hear Willie mentioning schooling more on comments now, and I wouldn't have ears that would be telling me what's going on now at all anymore. But I know his modus used to be, they could, like under Sora in the beginner's chase, I'd say, I think he'd never seen a fence the day he fell a third that day when he was so far clear they couldn't have all the shots in the wide angle down the back straight in shot. But anyway, I don't know it's the answer to that. I was very impressed. And one little angle I like now is, like, he strikes me all day long as the old RSA. So I don't even know the name of this race. The Brown Advisory. Strikes me all day long as Brown Advisory horse. A lot of people say, they won't go there to the bottom of blah, blah, blah. Sure, fact, if I went there last year, first season over fences, skipped hurdles, no experience. So Willie's not afraid of that race one bit. And a little bet now I like is, let's say Magborough is very good in the 2 mile division. You can get over 150 to 1 there in the related double, Magborough and Ballyburn, in case he split them that way. So for a tenner there, or 20 quid or whatever you want, you'd have a lot of fun if you did a related double. Could be Imperial Pass either, who, don't forget, is a 166 rated hurdler. If you go for him, Arkle, and Ballyburn for the Brown Advisory. I like that angle. But that'll be after spieling on there for a while. Tony, what did you make of Ballyburn?
No opinion, lads, to be honest with you. I guess last year, what trips is he going to go for? No, his time was very good. I just boring so-and-so that I am. I compared him and the handicap chase later on the card. I think from the part of the track they covered from, like, he was 12 seconds quicker, which is a lot. So we can run fast times report. But to be honest with you, he's not a horse I'm going to probably be back, and he's going to be very short wherever he turns up. I was much more interested in a couple of other 2 mile novice chase performances in the last weekend. Really impressed with Gavin Cromwell's mare that won down in Tipperary. They put her in against Geldings only by night. Her jumping was excellent. I'd say the 2 miles around Tipperary was very sharp for her, but they had gone a good pace with Mirror Zero West. And it briefly looked she was going to be outpaced turning in, but she actually picked up the win well going away. They tried over 2.5 in the Grade 1 novice hurdle for mares at Ferry House at Easter. I don't think she got home, but I think a stiff 2 miles would suit her even better. A Navan or a Naas or Leopardstown or whatever. Just Tipperary is really tight. But to me, one of the novice chase performances of the weekend, to be honest with you, I thought it was the best jumping performance to be a novice all season, and probably be a fair bit with this horse of Gordon Elliott's Touch Me Not winning the Craddockstown. This horse jumper was electric now. He's straight as a gun bar. And the thing that he did, he won the kind of battle for the lead, and there were 3 or 4 other front runners in it, and he had them beaten off by the second fence. And then there's this moment 4 out where the loose horse comes across him, and Ewing has to kind of straighten him up. And this happens like 4 or 5 strides in the fence. And like, really and truly, he should be putting in a bad jump there doing something. He just straightened him up, and he jumps it brilliantly again. Now, he is a couple of ordinary runs over hurdles before he won his maiden hurdle at Tramore. They were riding him forward in the first 2, but they've been gunning him now in the last 3 starts. And I mean gunning him now. This is it's not that he wants to be leading. He wants to be leading, going at a good pace, 5 or 6 lengths clear of the second. So maybe there's not a lot of longevity in that. But at the moment now, he's going to put any horse in a novice chase under pressure. And he's probably going to be underrated because he was a very ordinary hurdler. to me, he's given off. I might be getting carried away. He's given off massive notebook vibes here. You know the horse the Bromhead had there, and he won that race. The Craddock side, well, they went on a couple of grade ones at Leopardstown. Beating Ballybourne is obviously going to be another matter. I'm not saying that, but it's into a race without him. His jumping is just a massive asset. Really impressed with him. Horse that you talked about there, Jim, with Butch Cassidy, I definitely give him a mention again. Interesting comment by the Bromhead after the race. He said he wasn't able to get a school and hurdle run into him beforehand. As far as I know, he really does like to use the school and hurdles. I remember hearing one time, maybe Honeysuckle, many Hatton's Grace that she win, was it 3 or 4? Maybe the second or third one anyway. 3. I think the second one, he had heard he'd had her away for 3 separate school and hurdles. She was very, very ready for that first time out. He was making sure the hat trick anyway with her. So this horse having gone to Punchestown on Saturday with no school and hurdle and half an price on the show probably tells you a bit about his kind of ability. You mentioned his very good attitude.
He found plenty, didn't he? He found plenty when he was
very excellent. And I'd say the jumping and sharpen up because he didn't have the school and hurdle. And look back at his old bumper run in Ballinrobe. God, he looked like he hated the track there, far too tight. And in any case, the form has worked out well. The second finish up with Nichols won the bumper on Badger Aylesday when Canton probably a half decent bumper. So even that Ballinrobe form looks kind of okay. Last thing I wasn't going to mention wasn't so much about horses as about jockeys. I see Paul Townend is kind of in his, what will we say, early season riding style at the moment. He's riding them as if some of Mullins aren't ready, and this is totally logical. This is what he does, and I think when we get to the end of December, start of January into February, you'll see a different tactical approach. A good example of this was Argento by in the maiden hurdle on Sunday. I set out and he was kind of quite keen and prominent. He just is now taking this horse back, going to get him settled, going to finish out and race. Like a horse like that pitches up in Naas maiden hurdle in January. Townend's going 3 lengths clear of the field and nothing's ever seen him. That's actually a thing that links in with the Bromhead, doing a piece for the Irish Field there at the weekend. The Bromhead and Elliott are just win loads and loads of maiden hurdles now in November into December. Mullins just takes over completely. January into February, just unstoppable force of maiden hurdles. Obviously, the Elliott ones have run out of material at that stage. Like, just to give an example of what the type of ride you'd be expecting to see Townend give as the season goes on. Like Lotta Joy was obviously race fit going into the Gravel maiden mare's hurdle there on Sunday, and he just went out and made all. He's such a bloody tease. I was on 2 of the ones in behind. I was on Riviere, the 10 feet of a dancer. 3 out, Townend starting that niggle. You're going, yes, come on. And sure, of course, I've seen this movie 1,000 times before. Next thing, kicks on again, turning in, lights out. He's just horrible to watch when you're on something else anyway, I find. But yeah, Paul Townend, for the next couple of weeks.
It's really horses though, isn't it, Tony? It's the name that Danny's on him or Jody Townend's on him in a bumper. If there's a wheelie one in front and it's off the bridle, you're not getting by it. You know, if you back the other one, you're not getting by it.
No, definitely not. So anyway, I'm expecting him to be riding a few of the novice hurdlers a bit like that probably for another few weeks, but then I'd say a different tactical approach as the winter goes on.
And to review the big races, Tony, we stick with you. The Morgiana we'll do first and see what Dermot thought. Tony, you were quite sweet on brighter days ahead. You wanted to back her here or the fight in fifth or somewhere. I suppose we'd be interested here. Did you back her? And then what did you think of the overall performance?
No, I didn't. I want a kick in the arse for not backing her. I should have pieced it together last weekend. Like, where was she going to run? She kind of had the. She was 10-1 for the Morgiana last Sunday night beforehand. Should have pieced that together now that she was probably going to run here. And then I had no bet in the race now. But then what did I do in the Irish field? And that bloody statement, because I'm kind of close to the top and want to keep me status. David Jennings is on to me for Friday evening, and he's saying to me, Jesus Christ, you're parking the bus already. I said, yeah, you're right there, all right. So I was so sick. But so I had no bet in the race. Look, I was Asher impressed with her again. I know she was fit, but her jumping was fairly poor here. Like she met more wrong than she did right. Jumping to the left the whole way, so there were 2 significant mistakes. The only one she jumped straight was when Statement came up alongside her at the last. So I would say that they will want to, if they are going right-handed again, they'd like something to be on her outside. They've decided, obviously, they're never getting caught into a dawn run novice hurdle scenario again. They're going to make the running with her and make it a test. But she actually looks like she doesn't like it at all. I'd say she'd be better in kind of a race where she can get a bit of a lead. And the other thought I had in it was that Elliott sounds very cool now in Leopardstown. definitely on Christmas, and I'd say he's probably cool on the DRF as well. He says he thinks the track is too sharp for, but the race on the 29th of December would be on the inside track, so I'd say that's definitely out now. He doesn't want to be, that'll be a total home game for Stateman. And I wonder, will he do something like he did last season, just give her a break, maybe bring her straight to Cheltenham, maybe find something small for her beforehand. And then the other thing, like the race that probably suits her most in the calendar is probably the Aintree Hurdle. Like that's where the signature performance came last season. I wonder, has he got that in the back of his head rather than slogging the guts out of her? Not slogging the guts out of her, but, you know, Leopardstown, ideal race for Stateman. So, yeah, that was my thoughts on that. So I haven't done anything in the Champion Hurdle off the back of it. I see Lossiemouth is into favourite now. Maybe we're going to find out a bit about her at the weekend. Like I do wonder, was there ever any intention to run her on Saturday? I think most people were quite sceptical, verging on the cynical about her participation from the get-go.
Yeah, very true, very true. Didn't was talk about that, yeah. And right at the head, not her jump, but she certainly doesn't look like a champion hurdler. She probably wants soft ground. You know, I'm disgusted they're not putting Leopardstown, because I was looking forward to that at Christmas. I thought that was nailed on, and we'd have a proper season, and the whole weekend was building up to Christmas, and then DRF and there on. But it doesn't sound like that. So based on what Tony said, Jarmo, any other thoughts on the Morgiana?
Yeah, I just think it's a major pity that they're not going to give her a chance with a front runner to see where she'd actually line up now in this division. That's all. I thought her jumping was, fierce erratic. All that Tony said. I had an article today in Gambling.com where I said most of this as well. The one thing that I kind of noted, which I do find interesting now, is that this is twice now on soft to heavy ground that Stateman has gone by a horse that's managed to kind of stick on with him. And then he hasn't really found anything, you know, like against Irish Point last year in the Champion Hurdle, he didn't find a whole pile now jumping the last. He stayed enough in front, but he was kind of floundering a bit. And I thought now on Saturday as well, he went by her at the last. You know, he was comfortably travelling. She was kind of at it. And then again, he went by her once she got back to him. I don't know. He seems to be the kind of horse now on that ground where he's got one really crisp, quick kind of burst of acceleration, and then I'm not sure whether he finds anything then. And on good ground, obviously, that one burst is more than good enough. He'll skip away, but I do think that there's a little bit of a chink down the armour of him now, that I'd say that there's a good lot of jockeys watching that now, kind of thinking to themselves, if it was heavy at Cheltenham last year, if we can just hang in there now, kind of jump on the last and really get at him, you could well find him out again, because that's twice now in 3 runs, Cass, where he just hasn't found a whole pile after kind of skipping away from them.
Yeah, I think you're harsh to him in the Champion Hurdle. I thought he stayed on up the hill pretty well, but snug at the end. And geez, he made an awful mistake at the last on Sunday or Saturday, and he landed on all fours. And when a horse does that over hurdles, it sets them back and you lose a leg or two. And that's what I think. And he was kind of done then on the running for fitness. Although Townend hit him 5 smacks between the back of the last and the line, which I was kind of surprised about. So maybe...
No, I kind of get the fitness angle, but also though she gave away quite a bit of ground too. Like I wouldn't have been overly confident that he definitely would have, obviously not counting Leopardstown at Christmas, where that would have suited him, but I wouldn't be overly confident now had they met again and he was fit, sure, that he'd overturn that now on a left-handed track. I really wouldn't.
Yeah. Fair enough. And Dermo, sticking with you, our old friend Dean Ryan was absolutely insufferable after back to file. One to John Durkan. A fabulous race, as good a race as we've seen in Ireland, I think, in a long time. To bring back memories of Beaver Salmon and Fleming Star and Joe Dami coming over, and the listener, all these brilliant races we've had. This was as good as any of them. And fact is file, very impressive. What do you think of the race? Your overall impressions with a view to go a couple as well, Dermo?
Yeah, he's some horse, isn't he? I mean, that's his 5th start now since he last ran in a bumper, and so to go off and do that is phenomenal performance. Really, really good. He always took your eye as well. He drifted all morning. As in, he was favoured to kind of a day before, and then he drifted out. Then all the late money seemed to come from him again. So he wasn't friendless either. But I thought he was very good. Spallan's Tower I thought was coming to win now over the last. And he kind of found more. He actually answered the question I had of him was, how much would he find off the bridle? He did find plenty. It did have a feel to me now of a changing of the guards. Like Alvin Deschamps and Faster Slow. Obviously, I'm far from saying let's forget them. They're obviously 2 absolute monsters who win plenty. But I just think that was a real strike now. There was plenty of talk before the season started that what was that RSA form, what was that Brown Advisory form worth? what was that whole division last year? Factor File now and Spillane Tower have both come out and advertised that massively in the first kind of start of the season. Now, this does kind of enthuse me because obviously I'm a huge Monty Starr fan. I kind of always have been. He kind of, his respect kind of rises, and didn't even run because he was close behind Spillane Tower anyway. Obviously, Factor File kind of he buried him, but it was an absolutely cracking race. The whole division now is bubbling up beautifully. All I think we learned over in England was that there is no kind of Gold Cup horse over there. I think Grey Dawning, he's got plenty of heart, but he's not good enough. This is where all the horses are. I think Factor File is spectacular, Cass. Yeah, I'm gutted because I hate to see old Dean Ryan happy, but it's just a serious division. But I still happy with my Monty Stars bet, Cass, yeah?
Yes, it all of course comes back to Monty Starr for Dermo. And for what it's worth, I thought Spillane Tower ran some cracker for a horse that,
you said, didn't you? Did you spoke to the trainer? Sorry, just
yeah, I spoke to Jimmy Mangan before we did the Gold Cup preview 2 weeks ago, and Jimmy said they thought they'd be starting them off over 2 miles, so something like the Hilly Way, even though they wanted to go up, go 2.5, 3 with them. But he said he hadn't got him on grass. He said he wasn't remotely fit. So I was kind of surprised to see him entered. Huge drifter in the bet. And I mean, he was 30 on the exchange. And they just hacked him out the back last place, see how he got on. What I loved about him was his jump and the rhythm he got into. And if he was in a Gold Cup, which I actually don't think he will be, he'd probably run him in the Ryanair. But if he was in a Gold Cup, he could do what Side John did. I always come back to Side John just to think he's the perfect model of a Gold Cup horse because he's got so much speed, but he just travels away in himself at a half speed and pumps him. He's not an exuberant jumper at all, never makes a mistake. You're just watching the race, all of a sudden he's over the other side of it, galloping away again. He'll definitely stay, he's on pedigree, he should certainly stay. Pedigrees are very interesting actually because he's a walk in the park, and I also have a question mark about him, but there's no question mark with his attitude. It's just whether they keep training on and training on. Not that many walk in the parks progress. Like I've made this point before, but walk in the park only has Tony. You can have a guess at this, right? How many? Only 150. So kind of 150 would say as a grade 2, grade 3 horse rate and post rating. How many walk in the parks would you say have 150 RPRs? This including hurdlers, chasers, everything.
20.
Yeah, and you're low balling there, I'd say, at 20, and the answer is 15. Whereas they just tend not to progress a lot of them. So that'll be a small worry with Spillane Tower. Whereas Factor File is old school cross, like he's Flemingford out of an old Vic mare, kind of similar line of breeding that you would have had with Flemstar and Tidal Bay and these horses. Like they can do it all. 2 miles, 3 miles, 3.5 miles. Fair enough, Flemstar didn't quite say 3.1 or 3 miles, but they're good at every trip. He's in that mode. I think Factor File no bother with the Gold Cup trip. Just as for comparison, Tony, while we're talking, Flemsford would have 61 horses with an RPR 150 plus. 4 times what Walk in the Park has. Anyway, people are sick of me hearing me giving out about Walk in the Park, but I hope Spillane Tower becomes the best of them all. Tony, what did you think of the race?
So like that, a fantastic race. I'm after having 2 bets up the back of it here. The horses that probably weren't involved in the 3. I was kind of a bit sceptical about the JP McManus novice chasers the last season when we chatted about them. I'm going to have to revise that opinion. I actually even thought, I know the way you're thinking, didn't run too bad. His jumping was...
He hit one terribly, didn't he?
Yeah, it wasn't his fault. He was kind of in the in-running lanes. You would see he made mistakes. It was Johnny McMee's fault, jumping slowly in front of him. He jumped into the back of him a couple of times. So that was probably worth forgiving a little bit. And I'd say of the 3, he would definitely be most disadvantaged by just short of 2.5 miles around Bunchestown. He's definitely a staying effort. But I had a small bet on Diarmuid's horse on the back of this Monty Starr. He is after getting a double form boost here with the 2 McManus horses from the 2 separate races that he ran in. I would be with Stephen with the possibility that Spillane Tower might be a little bit fast for a Gold Cup trip, and I also think Fact the Fail might be a little bit fast. Could just be both of them could just be very, very good horses, but I think on Sunday they showed a lot of speed. I do think Monty Star, first day in Chasers, Monty Star will almost certainly improve for the 3 mates. He's slow, which can be a good thing in the Gold Cup, especially if they run it like they ran it last year. So I had a small bet on him at 20s for the Gold Cup, and I also wasn't at all disappointed really with Fast or Slow. I know he won this race first time out last year. I'd say he ran a better race than Sunday. That race, the 2023 John Durkan, should be just a race from the form book. I just point out that Appreciated was a narrow second in that race. And I, like a complete sucker, got drawn in by him afterwards, backed him a couple of times. The form means nothing. And say Fast or Slow, to me, over the bulk of his career, would be a horse to improve for a run. I'm hoping he's going to improve for a run for Campton. We've seen the revised entries for the King George today. It's fairly thin, to say the least. Gaelic Warriors come out. There's a few other ones come out. It's kind of a 4-1 the field race. A Fast or Slow has the best form of any of these. Now, if he comes back to that Punchestown World Cup form or that heat.
Can I interrupt? Did he not fold a little bit on Sunday, given the betting suggests he was fairly fit and they would have been as...
The betting suggested that, but the market isn't always right. You know, I just think that his first time out record isn't anything wonderful, and maybe he's more of a 3-miler now anyway as time goes on. And I say there's very little likelihood to be facing any of those 3 horses again in the King George. I backed him at 6-1 there. There's an article there in the Racing Post this evening. They're considering supplementing them. I'd say they are after seeing the field. So I'm happy enough with him taking a chance. Like you mentioned, I don't know if we're going to mention the Betfair, but I do think the Betfair, I'm not giving the Irish authorities any credit for this now, but I think the John Durkan is a much better starting point of a race, short of 2.5 miles at a speedy track than slogging around Haydock in extended 3. It's typically slow ground. Geez, I wouldn't like to be back in Grey Dawning now into the King George off the back of that. And I think a lot of those horses, I'm not as dead on Grey Dawning now. I think he might improve again. He's quite likeable, but I think I'd like to. I know Skelton mentioned straight after the race, it'll be 1 run before Cheltenham, probably Cheltenham in January or maybe Newbury. That's the race. That's the way I'd like to see him trained if they want to win a Gold Cup. I don't think they need to come back to the well. I just think that's just looks tough work, lads. I think anyway. I don't know what you reckon.
Oh yeah, I agree. And I hear a lot of people on other podcasts saying that young people are saying that these horses that have a really, really hard race, they can be finished. Of course, they're not finished, but we saw with a Plutarch the season he put up the big performance in the Betfred chase, and you see it. Desperate ground. I think a horse wants 10 weeks to recover from a race like that generally. So you'd be looking at Cheltenham end of January, you'd be fine. But I'd be very, very worried if they thought this fella's come to himself and he runs at King George. I'd be all against him if they did that. But yeah, as you say, I wouldn't write him off. The only thing I'd be worried about Grey Dawning is he jumps very big. Like he looks exuberant and he's flashy, but he's wasting an awful lot of energy doing this. That's fine in a Ryanair where you can go from the front like he did in the Turners last year, but you can't do that in a Gold Cup. Be that exuberant and conserve enough energy over 3-2. You'd like to see him going from the front and use the jumping over a test of speed. I don't think the Gold Cup would suit him at all in that respect. We'll move on, and Tony was there with you for the notebook horses. This is the section where you give 1 or 2 to follow from the weekend's racing.
Yeah, we chatted a good bit about the reviewing of races last week, and I said something about not all meetings are equal and some of them are absolutely terrible for reviewing. I would put Punchestown on Saturday into that. I thought it was incredibly boring to look back on, not an awful lot of notes, so that can just be scratched. A little of interest there. I'm going to go for a horse from the Pertemps qualifier on Sunday. It finished quite down the field. A horse called A Tip for Gold, Mags Mullins' horse. To me, they went quite hard in this race. First 4 at halfway were all kind of well beaten off. I don't think any of them managed better than 8. A Tip for Gold, he was part of that pace. He got hung very wide. kind of made mistakes. I'm trying to put that down to inexperience. He was actually quite slick at some of his other hurdles. It was a handicap debut from him, and I do think it's very difficult for horses to win on the handicap debut, especially coming against, that was a classy handicap. And despite all that, he kind of travelled very nicely to the turn in, and just kind of didn't see it out. So I think either back to 2-6 or maybe a stiff 2.5, or just been ridden with it a little bit more restraint. I think there's probably a handicap in him. He's very well back now. I think he was kind of 16s early into 13 to 2. So I'd be hopeful of him. Might be a little bit missed because I think he finished like 9th or 10th. I thought he was fair bit better than the form.
Yeah. Actually caught my eye while I was watching that race. Didn't include the heart until you said it, and I said I remember him travelling away up to front. Thought turning in, he might have a chance. Dermo, what about you? Quick note, Buckers?
Yeah, I liked Lakota Blue, who finished second behind It's Bilbo on the 3-year-old hurdle there. He got absolutely squashed for room just approaching the last, and he absolutely flew home. It's Bilbo was another winner for Dara O'Keefe, and Henry de Bromhead. This lad was 12s in the market. He just ran an absolute blinder, I thought. So old Lakota Blue there. Cass?
Very good, very good. Now we're going to move on. We're doing an anti-post look this week. We mentioned last week the Champion Chase was shaping up into a nice market to look at, possibly. And the betting with our sponsors, Betfred, John Bond is 7-2 favourite. Gaelic Warrior 4-1, El Fabiola 6-1, and Ergamine 8. Marie Nationale is 16-1, Ilene Tom 20-1, and Quilixias 25-1, and Bar after that. So with Dermo, we'll stick with you. The Queen Mother, we call it, the Champion Chase. It's an interesting shape to it this year, and just wondering, can you find the bet, or what's your thoughts on the shape of the race?
Well, my thought is that I've gone full circle on old Gaelic Warrior. Like, I mean, I was one of the biggest anti-people on this horse that there ever was. I just thought that he was complete and utter mirage of a thing altogether. Against Fact of Foil Butcher, he threw that away. And then his performance last year in the Arkle, I was watching it with Cass, who had a decent out punting him at big odds, wasn't it? It was 20s or something you had him at, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe 16s, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was there watching with him, and old Cass was out, he was smarring me out as always, but I just didn't believe the hype ever with him. I always thought that, how could you get beaten in the Fred Winter off that mark? You can't go left-handed. And Jesus, he absolutely took my breath away that day. He was outstanding. He showed that he can handle that course. He's really quick. He jumps fast. If I was one of these punters that was put together, kind of all these acas, he'd be in a lot of mine. The fact that he's out of Kempton now, that points to the fact that he is going here, I would imagine. And he just looks like John Bonnet 3-1 favourite. Cass, I couldn't be backing him. He can win, of course he can, but to me, he's just not at his optimal best at Cheltenham. You've got a horse there in Gaelic Warrior who's now proven that he does fly around there. And as much as I wouldn't be punting him now, I still think that he could end up being very, very short in March, if he keeps going, because John Bond, he's one mistake there away in February or something like that to being a big price. So don't really have anything massive kind of punting wise, but I think Gaelic Warrior, if this was the day of, you'd be all over him, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, he's absolutely wet, Gaelic Warrior, but he can throw in stinkers all the time. You're on an even money shot that he's going to throw in a stinker, did it a punches down, did it against the Foil. I think I'll never ever back him. He's not remotely like a shortish price, which he is here now. And yeah, I watched him with you. I was confident all the way around, but I thought the work to give call a fella now was cheap, but Smarmy, that's really low now, terrible. Okay. We'll have to have a full friendship review now after Smarmy. That's punching very below the belt now. But anyway, it's Tony, smiley Tony, as you know now on this podcast this week. Yeah. Well, what do you think, Tony?
Andy Dufresne, he's free now at last.
I wish it was only a podcast and didn't have to look at me. But anyway, I don't have any major view in this. Al Fabiolo at Cheltenham, fair enough, obviously the horror story of a mistake. What was the excuse of Sandown, lads? Was it jumping that bad in Sandown now that, relative to the expectations of him at Cheltenham, you would expect him maybe to do better? Energumene's a horse now. If he fell into a sewer, he'd come out smelling the chocolate now, I think, in Energumene. He's been absolutely blessed to get 2 soft ground champion chases. And I'd say the ground on the Tuesday and the Thursday of both years that he won the champion chase was nice ground. A very, very fortunate horse. A serious horse on soft ground, but getting the rub of the green there. Wasn't that impressive with Marine Nationale at Naas. Gordon Elliott's kind of doing a weird thing with Found to 50. I say he's going to stick him at 2 miles until probably he's beaten type, but not that he's beaten, but you stick at that until he's kind of found out a bit and stick at him left-handed. That race that he's aiming at, the race on the 27th at Leopardstown, it can turn out to be a very weak race. God, it's been a while since there's been a good one of those. Maybe the one that a Plutarch won from Jacques Bourgeois was a decent one, but God, that's when he was. Plutarch still running over 2 miles, so maybe he's right aiming at that. The horse who kind of interests me, but I haven't had a bet in it yet. I just impressed him at Naas was Quilixios. And the reason I'd be forgiven of him in the couple of runs in spring festivals last season, like, he got the wrong type of ride for different reasons both days. Got left at the start at Cheltenham and she rushed him up through the field. So that was race over. That wasn't going to work. And then at Aintree, kind of said, well, I'm not going to get caught at sitting back today, and went too hard in front. So those runs that look terrible maybe aren't as bad as they are. Visually impressive in his. I don't know what Marine Nationale is, but he is kind of quite a big price. I suppose Captain Guinness and Banbridge and Gentleman to Me, I know maybe you can Captain Guinness had a problem. Banbridge aiming at later targets, but they do look, you'd have to think there's something better in it than the horse that won the 2 championships at Punchestown and Cheltenham last year. But again, the market kind of reflects that. He let you Thomas, again, a horse that I couldn't really have at Cheltenham. I just think every time he goes to Cheltenham, he just can't get into a rhythm. But different story. He actually went well pitched up at Leopardstown at Christmas. He's brilliant record at Leopardstown. So yeah,
he's had a setback. I think Tony that he might be. They said kind of New Year let it out might be off. Yeah. I hate hearing that, by the way, when they say they missed a bit of work in their second half of the year. Yeah. I think with Willie as well, they're kind of, if he says they'll be back in the second half of the year, they're even money to come back in the second half of the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you always prefer to have the horses with him that are out, and probably the first thing for the champion chase for him is going to go to Cork and work back from there.
Yeah. Which I think Energumene is going there, but Energumene is going to be 11. So I think Moscow Flyer won it as an 11-year-old got right. But Jesus is a fair ass now for a horse that missed a whole season as well. So you kind of know no strong opinion, but Quilixios is one you'd be keeping an eye on, Tony. That's the verdict, is it?
Yeah.
Surely Cass is a big price, Cass, do you?
I think we didn't even talk about
I was thinking that, of course. Yeah, go on.
I think it's right to go looking for one. Now, I'm talking out of 2 sides of my mouth, as usual, because I say that you don't want a Willie Mullins that's had a setback and his second half of the year, but there's a horse in there, and if you look at his form's amazing now, right? So,
Blood Destiny.
Yes, correct. I knew you'd get it. I knew you'd get it.
I was looking at him. I was going to be
He was a very good, very good juvenile. I think Tony might have even fancied him for the further back in the day, which now he ran poorly in that, and a little bit of a worry at Cheltenham around that. But look, this horse, I think with the books, and I think even with Betfred, I was trying to get on there. It could be 80-1. He's certainly 80-1 with the books. I think he might be 66 or 80 when our sponsors Betfred, which is an enormous price, right? He's a 5-year-old, but it's when you go back and look at his form last year. He beat Hartfoot, who's an absolute serious weapon of a horse, I think, in the beginner's chase over 2.5. He was then second to Splad's Tower, nothing wrong with that, but that was over 2-3. I think the thing with Blood Destiny is he's a very neat jumper and a very good jumper from the front. So I'd like to see him go from the front, which obviously can't suit in the champion chase. He beats Splad's Tower then, getting a little bit of weight over 2 miles, but he beat him 6 lengths, I think, getting 6 pounds. He went Fairyhouse then over 2.5 for the Powers Gold Cup, or the Willow Warm Gold Cup as it is now. I don't think 2.5 is a trip, and he was only beaten 3 lengths by Splad's Tower. Pulled up then and punched down when he went off 15-8 in handicap. Obviously something wrong that day. If you put a line through that and look at the rest of the form, the fact he's only a 5-year-old, the fact he jumps really well, you could easily see him emerging into a contender. And I think he's every bit as good a horse he would have said before the start of the season as a Quilixios anyway, or that type of horse. I just think 80-1, it's a bit wild. So I'd be having a stab at Blood Destiny. So that's our Champion Chase preview. We'll look ahead to the weekend coming up, and normally a great weekend, and normally one of the races of the season. But Dermot, this Power Gold Cup is absolute muck, isn't it?
Yeah, which is good news though, because usually these races that are muck is kind of a good market though. And it is a good market.
Desperate. I'm going with my father's 70th birthday. Happy birthday, Mighty Cass. And we're going over. Myself and my brother John are bringing him, and John Queely, Queely's the local pub. Dermo knows it well. Yeah. John is coming over. His son's graduating.
Deadly. Fast.
Yeah. So there's going to be a few of us over. I know, my God, it's probably the worst old Hennessy's, we call it, ever ran. And we're going to have to put up with that. But anyway, Dermo, you kind of fancy one, isn't it?
That's my logic though, as well, is that, this kind of long beat a day where, a native river, or Bob's Worth was winning this race, obviously. Grandero Bello off 147 there, Cass, for the Harty lads, is he's very interesting. I mean, I thought he was set for the very top that day at Goran Park back in 23 when he absolutely battered Max Charm. And he's just had problems since. But last time at Galway now, he travelled around there beautifully, jumped the last, probably got a little bit lonely in front, but he still had plenty there in his locker. That was his first run for 300 odd days. He found plenty. And the horse in third, Stuzzakini, he's won since. He's won the Tri-Town since as well. So it's like very good form. He also ticks an awful lot of the trends. I mean, 11 of the last 12 were between 6 and 8. He's 8. 10 of the last 12 winners had raced in the previous 57 days, and then also 10 of the last 12 had 10 of the last 12 winners had I had it all over off the
I'll give you one there where
I carried 11 stone 4 or less, sorry. But yeah, no, look, he ticks all the trends. He has, he won brilliantly at Galway last time. Grandero Bello at 16 to 1 or so. He just looks to me to be an absolutely cracking bet here. His owners are local as well, so he should be running. And he's just very talented, Cass, and he's definitely far, far too big a price.
A very small thing with him. He ran twice ever left-handed, pulled up and finished 8 to 10. So just be a little bit worried that he's a bit of a right-handed specialist. That's only a small thing, but look, he's a big price. Tony, did you have a look at the Carl Gold Cup? English racing correspondent here, Tony Keenan.
I didn't, Stephen. You'll not be surprised. I did have a few quid on a horse there mentioned a couple of weeks ago for the Beecher. I'm not going to tell you I've gone through the Beecher. I haven't. But I had a few quid on Man. He's kind of a general 16 to 1 there for that race. He was third in the Tri-Town. I thought he was the catch up in the Tri-Town, the one that was coming into it without a run and was probably in a bad track position. He's proven over the trip, or close to the trip anyway, having won in big state race in Haydock last year, and Cromwell has been very willing to travel him. I think he will travel him. I hope it's this race, but I see today he is an entry for the Welsh National as well, so I presume it's going to be one or the other. I've had a small win-only bet on this now. I was chatting to you a bit about win-only and stuff like that. I'm not a great fan of betting each way anti-post, especially from a way out. I wouldn't like backing a horse for Cheltenham now each way unless, oh God, I thought a race was going to put up. Well, definitely not at this point of the year, and I just want to back Man win only for two reasons. First of all, I'm a little iffy on his target, and second of all, it's a national fence and he just might not take to it. So that's kind of what do you think, lads, about betting horses each way? Different story, maybe saying you're going to bet something, I don't know, for the meeting at Fairyhouse this weekend, or any of those Newbury races maybe where you have a sense of the horses jocked up and you have a sense of how the field is going to shape up. But I think it's more than a month out now. I don't know, I think you're burning 2 stakes rather than 1 there in case it doesn't pitch up.
Yeah, I'd have 2 views on it. One is if I'm backing something a month out, anti-post, I must think it's at least double the odds it's going to be. So I don't want to tie up. If it's double the odds it's going to be, I'm going to get returns over time if you're doing this. And I don't want to be tying up half my money on the each way side. So I'd always go win only. Like I was very seasoned on Midnight River, who isn't going to run now in the Carl Gold Cup by the looks of it, right? But he was kind of 20 to 1, and I'd say if he had been sketched number 1, would have gone off 6-7 to 1. But he's had a setback. Whatever, he's not going to run. But I think you need to be on double the price. If you're on double the price, you're better off win only in the long run. And then the other side of it is the week of. I love anti-post. I've spoken to you about this before. The week of, sometimes there can be each way angles there now that you'd be watching, especially English novice chases and the like, or novice hurdles, and they might have 14 entries, and you'd say this is going to cut up. There could be 5 runners, so you could watch it that angle and have a 3-place bet. I have had a bet this week in the fighting fifth, and it looks like a race that could cut up. And I think it could be right for a boil over. Obviously, you have Mystical Power, who is one of Willie's coming back first run, so we don't quite know, and especially we saw State Man, his hurdlers, maybe, he has him right for the John Durkan, all right, but how fit would Mystical Power be? And certainly, I'm not buying into this fella's hype at all. Like, there's all the time Merch was talking about him, but like when he beat Burdett Road at Cheltenham, Burdett Road was hung out the back with a hold-up style of running. It's not the same Burdett Road, that's for certain. When he went to Kempton, he kicked a load of hurdles out of the way and looked a gangly, awkward joke. And to be honest, he did that as well against Cargisi. Cargisi travelled all over the entry. Yet he got there then travelling, but he only beat him by a couple of legs. Like, I think he could be very much overhyped. I'm not a Times man, so the Times men love him, but I think he could be overhyped. And I think as a result, Salver could be a huge price. If you watch back the trial, I made this point before, I thought he shaped much better than the Bear result. He went off way too quick. But at heavy ground now, if he's hard fit, he loves heavy ground. So heavy ground in Newcastle this weekend. They might just let him go in front, and he could be 10 next year. Come to the second last, and I hope he'd cling on. What we're talking about then, Tony, betting each way. Would you back him each way now? You will have 8 runners in the fight in fifth. He'd only be clinging on. I'd be more inclined now with a horse like him, he's 20-1 to go win only again, because if he gets headed, he's probably going to fall in the hole. That's what I'd be thinking with Salver, but I definitely fancy him, and I have backed him for the weekend. But I'm kind of going off topic because you were talking about each way betting and the concept of it. So we'll ask Dermo what he thinks on that topic.
Yeah, no, literally just a very little to add. I have done that before where I think I found a massive price, had 20 each way or whatever, and you're 40 quid down. So yeah, no, it makes way more sense, just because, again, half the time that you think you found a good anti-post bet, probably on the day, you're more than likely to be able to back them each way anyway at much better terms. So yeah, definitely holding your powder makes sense anyway, definitely.
And Tony, I know you brought this up, right? I know you've looked at it. So like, what you must have an angle on that. You've a 50 odds 3 places on anti-post. It's not overly attractive, especially Cheltenham bet.
Just advise everyone, if you don't have it already, get I think it's called the FOC odds checker calculator, where you can get the lad that does the percentage for you. Just look at that and look at how close to the margin it is, whether it be 100% or 300 or 400% in the place market. Just use that. Like, there's no point in me trying to be a rocket scientist about that. Now, you read up the stable plans, and some of them are very transparent. Like, say, for instance, now, I would say brighter days ahead probably be entered in that race at Christmas, the 2-mile race. I'd say she's not running myself, reading Elliot, and no one is. He wouldn't be a great lover in that race anyway. I don't think Elliot's actually a great lover of Leopardstown, full stop. He's had a couple of cuts at them over the years about the state of the ground and things like that. So she might appear there, and you'd say, well, she's not running. You could bet accordingly. But yeah, just get the Google Chrome plug-in and look at the maths. It does it for you. It'll tell you a very good each way race, but it'll also tell you the terrible ones, and they're the ones to be staying away from.
Okay, we'll do that, Tony. Good advice. And Tony, the Irish racing this weekend, we have the Drinmore and we have the Royal Bond. Did you have any early thoughts on those?
So look, Lossie Mouth is pitching up here in the Hatton's Grace. It's going to be an interesting race anyway. I know there's only 4 in it, but sure, you do have to go against Lossie Mouth. Mullins made an interesting comment. Just don't know whether to take him at face value or what, but he said ahead of the attended run in the Morgiana that a bit worried about Lossie Mouth going to 2 miles, considering she hasn't run over that trip since her juvenile days. Now, first of all, he was wrong in what he was saying, because she did run over 2 miles in Cheltenham in January last season, if I'm not wrong with that. But is he viewing her as a 2.5 miler? I don't know. That was just something that I had me head. No real opinion in that race. The ground may be significant because there's not a lot of rain forecast, and people would like a little bit of ease. I do have an opinion. Market's probably agreeing with me at the minute, and I can wait to see what happens there. But I'd be favouring Heartwood over Firefox now in the Drinmore. I think Hartwood has a lot of achievement now at this point, and he also has the run. Of course, you can argue he shouldn't be running in the race. I'm not going to get into that. He is here. He was impressive in Wexford. He's run to a high level before. Firefox, I wasn't as impressed with Down Royal as some, and I'm also thinking that he might be a 2-miler. The trainer is saying that as well. He went to Naas last year for the race in January. I thought he'd take beating in it, or at least go very close. It looked like he didn't get home. When he races over 2 miles, he doesn't seem to be really on the bridle, but I just wonder, is he a strong staying 2-mile or a bit of a Brave Ink or a Hardy Eustace type? I'm not comparing to him ability-wise, but his way of going through the race, it looks like he wants 2.5, but doesn't really. So I would have Hartwood ahead of him, and I'd be looking to back Hartwood now in the Drinmore, I think. And it does look kind of a bit of a match. I know with Pinkerton, and she could be anything in that, but I do think it'll probably be between the two of them.
Yeah, one more small one for the weekend ahead. Caldwell Potter isn't going to go to Newbury reading between the lines with Paul Nichols, so I thought they're 10-3, 130 there. About the Jukebox Man, it's going to be very soft at Newbury. They're getting a load of rain on Wednesday. So on Friday in the John Franklin Novice Chase, it'll be, it's a good race now. Johnny Who is in it. There's a horse from another handicaps in it as well. And you have Captain Teague, who hasn't ran over fences yet. And the Jukebox Man, who hasn't run over fences. But I think the Jukebox Man on deep ground over 2.5, always look to chase, or they all always look to chases until they actually go chasing. But I thought 130, like I thought he'd be going off 7-4 now, and you're getting 10-3. So Jukebox Man is one I have backed with the weekend ahead. We're going to move into our section. Dermo, I want to ask you, what did you think of the Fighting Fifth? Sergino and Mystical Power. Who do you think would win that?
I think Sergino probably wins it, but I'm really looking forward to see Mystical Power. This is much closer than the market is kind of making it out. But like, Mystical Power he's a massive chance here to really jump up that market. I mean, he's 10-1 for a champion hurdle, and he's tight second favourite here, so he could be a trading horse there as well, because he could seriously move. He just seems to be undervalued all round based on last season, but I just think he improved with every run last year. He's a beautiful hurdler. He kind of got worried out of it by kind of Slade Steele at Cheltenham last year, but he only improved afterwards. I think Mystical Power is, I'm nearly talking myself here into a bet. I think he'll worry Sergino, but I just do think, I disagree with you from earlier. I do think Sergino is something special, all right. So I think he'll take all the stopping, but I think Mystical Power will definitely give him a fright, all right.
All right, we might have a match bet on Saturday morning for an interest, Dermo. And we'll move on to, we're going to review now, because we have a few bets to put into our anti-post sheet, and we've had an absolute diabolical start here, because Tony disgracefully put a few for a head on. That was absolute madness. Dermo put up Shake Up Barry, who had one, and I put up Midnight River, who's probably going to be an on-runner in the Car Gold Cup. The other horses we currently have in the old sheet of justice, Dermo had Cargisi for the Mayor's Hurdle, 12-1, Banbridge for the King George. 14s are bigger there now, but at the same time, I think if you can forgive Banbridge that one, Dermo, I don't think that's a bad bet at all. And Nara for the Mayor's Chase. Now, Tony, are we officially adding in the ones you mentioned earlier? You mentioned one for the Beecher, you mentioned one for the King George and the Gold Cup. Are they all going into the old sheet of justice?
Put them in now, but the stake on Fast or Slow is a lot, with 3 or 4 times what it is on the other two. But anyway, that's
very good. Well,
fast
enough.
Just to make people aware that, like, look, I'm taking a dart with Man and Monty Star, but I do fancy Fast or Slow. I think if he pitches up, he's much shorter than that. So yeah, throw the 3 of those in. Fast or Slow for the King George, Man for the Beecher, and Monty Star for the Gold Cup. All win only.
Very good, very good. And Dermo, are you putting one in anti-post?
I'll throw in Grand Arabello, yeah.
Grand Arabella for the Car Gold Cup this weekend. So they'll go up in the feed. We post up on Twitter. Keep it honest. Our X, we keep it honest. And that's it for the week, gents. Good luck with your puntings for the week ahead. Unless I've missed anything. Producer Dermo, have I missed anything?
No.
We're all good. We're all good. Well, enjoy the week ahead. Happy birthday to the Owls fella, Mike and Cass. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to our sponsors, Gambling.com and Betfred. Thanks to Tony Keenan and Diarmuid Nolan. And our Racehour tipping show will be out this Friday.